thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
I made it into a learning session. It was really, really
Good
cool.
morning, everybody.
That's really cool.
Whoa, you guys.
Yeah,
Whoa.
so
Hey,
it's not the mushroom that's red. It's this other
Yarrow, we're started. Yes. Good morning, everybody.
Mildewy
That's
thing
right.
that,
It is
comes
Monday,
and-
September 2nd. Today is National Hummingbird Day, you guys.
Lobster mushrooms.
It's also National Blueberry Popsicle Day.
They smell like lobster. They taste like lobster.
It's National VJ Day also.
Oh.
And that's right, you guys. It is Labor Day, you guys. We're over here laboring for you guys. Yes.
How's my color?
How's your color? Oh boy, here we go. Oh boy, how's my color? Well, kicking it off today, we're going to kick it off with Mr. Yarrow. Oh, wait. Thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above or down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. So thank you to all of you for joining us from whatever platform you are joining us from. And happy Labor Day, everybody. Thank you all for being here. And we're going to kick this off today with Mr. Yarrow Kubrin. He is the man who all of a sudden loves to talk, and loves to talk. That's right. He's the Sebastopol sage. And on top of it, he has the most elaborate telephone book collection to make sure that he can stand on any stoop and spit all of the things that he wants everybody to hear. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Yarrow Kubrin.
Hey, Yarrow, you are up.
You're up, Yarrow. You with us, Yarrow? Yarrow, can you hear us? What's going on, buddy? Yarrow. Yo. Yarrow, what's going on? Okay, all right. Well, shit. If Yarrow, you don't want to participate, I guess.
I don't know, but if we could unmute the Discord stream, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. I think that might be why. Is Yarrow, can you hear us, Yarrow? Yarrow. Oh, well, you know what? I'm just going to... Jeez Louise. Matthew, you good? You good to go, Mathieu St. Germain? I don't think either of them here are hearing us. I don't think... Can you hear me, Jenny?
Now I can hear
now
the
you
Discord stream with you.
Now you can hear.
Yep.
Matthew, can you hear? I see you laughing.
I can't hear Jason.
You can't hear me.
Labor Day.
I tried to put it in the chat. I was trying to keep it quiet, you know?
Wow. And wow, you guys, that's super, super interesting. I'm not sure exactly why that is happening. But that is...
Good morning.
Yarrow. Unmute yourself, Yarrow.
This is what happens when Jason makes us work on Labor Day.
Check. Microphone
there
check.
we go.
One,
There you
two,
go.
one,
There you
two.
go. Yarrow, yes. Go ahead. Let's kick this off, Yarrow.
Okay, well, wave your hands in the air.
Yes. There we go.
And act like women's rights to abortion don't care.
Oh, boy.
God.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, go for it, Yarrow. Yarrow, kick off your story. What is going on, Yarrow?
Maybe Jason could point to which one of us should go on screen, and we can talk.
Maybe the thought was aborted.
I have no clue.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, go with your story. We're waiting on you.
Got it. Okay, it's not up in my... Allow me without further review here.
There we go.
Okay. Well, good morning. This is Yarrow Kubrin. Not so high,
Sorry
but
about
high at 9 News.
Something's, man.
Boy, oh boy.
My article today is about one of the beautiful Sunshine States where I reside, and this is hot off the press from CNN. Pot farm next door, black market weed operations inundate California suburbs, cops say. I think probably the most important part of that headline is the comma that says cops say. Antioch, California. Just after dawn on a recent spring morning, police dressed in tactical gear and armed with a search warrant pounded on the front door of an upscale home in a quiet suburban neighborhood an hour outside of San Francisco. When no one answered, the officers with California's Department of Cannabis Control, which polices the legal sale of marijuana in the state, took a battering ram to the steel-reinforced door. When the door didn't budge, they used a power saw to cut their way through a fortified back entrance and into the spacious 5-bedroom property. Inside, investigators found precisely what they were looking for: evidence of yet another black market marijuana operation hidden in plain sight amid the cookie-cutter homes of suburbia.
It just looked like he was having a stroke.
They removed 80 pounds of weed from the pricey 2-story home in Antioch, California. With curious neighbors looking on, they repeated the spectacle twice more on the same block that morning in late April. The raids filled a dump truck with $1 million worth of illicit weed cultivated by unlicensed growers. Although cars were parked in the driveways, no people were found in any of the homes and no arrests were made. Among California's marijuana cops at Cannabis Control, Antioch has developed a reputation as a hub for high-yield, covert indoor grow operations. They have raided at least 60 alleged grow houses in the city over the past 2 years and suspect well over 100 more remain in operation. But that's not all. Investigators say the illegal pot production in Antioch provides a glimpse of a hidden world, one that mirrors a trend playing out not only in California, but in states such as Oklahoma, Oregon, New Mexico, and Maine. Groups of people with apparent ties to foreign countries, most notably China, producing weed in colossal volumes. A CNN investigation has found that in this unassuming city of 115,000, the minimal consequences and hefty rewards for producing illicit marijuana in huge volumes has led to a whack-a-mole pattern of enforcement and a brazenness on the part of the participants, all while neighborhoods look on in dismay. The unlicensed operators, which can cause house fires and mold, often leave homes in a severely damaged state. Properties deemed uninhabitable by the city after raids are sometimes quickly rehabbed and sold for much more than the prior sale. Blame the real estate market for appreciation. Throughout, operatives in the scheme are seldom held accountable. The dynamic in Antioch is a microcosm of Greater California, where lax laws on black market weed are doing little to change the state's status as a gargantuan producer of it. The Golden State, whose cannabis enjoys a global reputation similar to that of Sonoma County Wines, produces about 40% of the nation's weed, the vast majority of it by unlicensed growers, according to Bo Whitley, an economist who specializes in the cannabis industry. The runner-up state, Oregon, produces less than a fifth of California's output, he said. Bo, I don't think you have a grasp on the black market, but good try. Anyway, this means California is fueling a massive underground economy as 3/4 of the U.S. marijuana market is illegal, Whitney says. Law enforcement officials, including former DEA leaders and FBI Director Christopher Wray, attribute much of the activity nationwide to Chinese organized crime. In Antioch, the operators bear the hallmark of a Chinese criminal syndicate, said Bill Jones, chief of law enforcement at the California Department of Cannabis Control. He added that the criminal network made up of Chinese nationals has become the dominant presence in the state's illegal cannabis trade over the past 5 years, eclipsing Mexican cartels. Law enforcement officials say they've seen evidence that the activity in the Antioch amounts to organized crime, citing the sophistication of the operations and apparent coordination of some of the people involved. But they declined to elaborate, citing ongoing investigations. A review of search warrants, online property records, and interviews with neighbors of some of the raided homes show that the vast majority were owned or occupied by people with Chinese names in a city where Asians make up about 15% of the population. The home that cannabis control agents had the power saw their way into belongs to Samson Liu, a police officer in nearby Oakland, California. Can't make this stuff up. Cannabis Control declined to say whether Liu lived in the home or had tenants, citing an ongoing investigation. Liu's home not only contained what police said was 80 pounds of illegal marijuana trimmings stashed away in piles of garbage bags. Officials said it was also extensively modified for the sole purpose of cultivation. The doors were fortified, the windows were boarded up. A heavy-duty generator sat in the laundry room to maximize power. Silver industrial air ducts staked in and out of rooms for ventilation. Almost every state, include even the most liberal, Jason, said the federal government considers the cultivation and sale of unlicensed marijuana a serious crime that carries felonious level fines and prison time, according to CNN analyst of data from the National Organization of Reform of Marijuana Laws. But in California, feds say recently they've largely taken the hands-off approach to marijuana. And under state law, any amount of illegal weed, save a few exceptions, such as a culprit being a registered sex offender or selling it to a child, is a misdemeanor offense. As for the house owned by Liu, the Oakland police officer, cannabis control agents have referred the matter to the Internal Affairs Division of the Oakland Police Department because they are so accountable, but have made no arrests in connection with the contraband. CNN's efforts to reach Liu by phone, email, and a visit to his home were unsuccessful. The Oakland Police Department told CNN it is cooperating with outside law enforcement agencies and investigating the case as a personnel matter. He was placed on administrative leave, which means he's probably still getting paid, the day of the raid in late April. Despite the large loads of marijuana and cash taken during roughly 60 raids in Antioch since 2002, only 2 people associated with busts in the city have been arrested and charged. Both were given misdemeanors, according to records provided by Cannabis Control. So, Antioch has the most raids of any city in California. And allow me to scroll down. It did not seize the homes. Half were fixed up and sold by the original owner after the bust. We call that a flip. CNN identified one real estate agent who has had a hand in selling 4 of the 60. That's not a conspiracy. A review of online records shows that she herself owns one of those homes, from which $937,000 worth of illicit cannabis was seized in December. So let me get to the bottom line here. This article, which goes on and on and on and on about stealing electricity and marijuana homes sold at elevated prices, basically says that the biggest problem now is the inability to enforce against unregulated cannabis because we have state legal programs. I was astonished at the throwback perspective of this article, because the truth is, after the passage of Proposition 64, aka adult use in California in 2016, the gauzy, vague medical paradigm where there was an affirmative defense model and collectives actually became much more cut and dry. And now, based on real estate zoning, single-family residences in dense or slightly suburban environments are never allowed to be used for regulated cannabis production. So it is actually easier to enforce against cannabis grows in homes than it was before. And so I don't necessarily disagree with the angle of this article, but I leave it up to the rest of my guests and cohorts to tell me what they think and feel. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at Night News, Monday, September 2nd.
Man, I mean, this does not surprise me at all, Yarrow. Not one little bit. I mean, Antioch is a super, super, super ghetto fabulous community.
I think what you meant to say was Yock life.
No, I'm not. I don't like that. I don't like calling Antioch the Yock. I think that's a stupid name for it. But I did grow up in the town next door, Pittsburgh, and so I'm very, very familiar with Antioch. I've been grinded out there for a number of years pager days and whatnot. And so this is not surprising at all. I mean, I remember too when I was a kid in high school. I mean, meth was the big thing as far as in the houses, and I think 1 in 5 houses in Antioch was a meth lab back in the day. And there was all kinds of people that had little mobile labs in their cars and RVs and stuff all throughout Antioch. And so this does not surprise me, because around that time when they started developing the whole Hillcrest area and Deer Valley area and created Deer Valley High School out there. They built up all these really nice tract homes. And then they started turning them all into Section 8 homes because they started gentrifying Oakland and Richmond and a whole bunch of those communities, and they just moved everybody out from there to there. And so this does not surprise me one single little bit that this is going on, and that Antioch is the biggest illegal grow spot in the country. It's not surprising at all.
I think it's interesting that they were talking about that most of these are Chinese national grows, which is crazy because, I mean, I was reading an article the other day about border crossings in the San Diego area specifically, and like the fact that the, what are they called? Hyenas, whatever they are.
Coyotes.
Coyotes were really, really enjoying working with the Chinese nationals because they were willing to pay like $35,000 a person.
Yeah, they got money. They got plenty of money.
Increased border crossings. Right, they have plenty of money. They're coming here with plenty of money, so they might not be Section 8 homes. They might just be a home with some people that have a lot of freaking money, and they're like, fuck it, grow up.
Most all those homes are all Section 8 homes, majority of them.
Well, that's like down towards Methyl Island, or like...
No. I mean, like in the nice area, like in Deer Valley and Hillcrest, all of those homes, they're nice tract homes that all are Section 8 homes.
Damn.
What was interesting to me about this article was sort of the way in which it fueled the flames of previous concerns and showed pictures of grow rooms suggesting that it was all sophisticated. And when I looked at the pictures of grow rooms, they had linoleum lining the inside of an ebb and flow tray. Like that wasn't done 25 years ago. Like that's a throwback. That's not sophisticated. That's just rinky dink. And so, yes, are there still mom and pop indoor residential grows in residential environments? Yeah. But this notion that because the Chinese are involved, it's sort of an international or foreign conspiracy. It's hard for me because we've covered that in a couple different states. Both in, I think it was Maine, New Mexico. Now we're talking about California. It says that the population of Antioch is only 15% Asian, but there's a pretty substantial population in the Bay Area in general of Asian people, and I think it would probably or potentially be a higher statistic. My concern is, I remember what happened in World War II. I remember that the Japanese, not the Germans, were interned in camps. And it just feels a little funky to me that I haven't seen any massive evidence that this is somehow an international conspiracy that includes enforcement to validate those assertions. And, the American dream does include this notion of no risk, no reward. And so it's hard for me to automatically demonize all these people who are growing weed in their homes. And I don't trust the cop's opinion around value, especially when one of the homes was owned by a police officer. So I'm not so sure that CNN is doing anything other than clickbait, but I thought it was fun to read the article and share it with our viewers today.
I mean, back in the day, I wouldn't be surprised, though, because the police chief in Antioch used to do meth himself. So that doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, he had to work those late night shifts,
Yeah, behind the thin blue line, there might be a big white line. I don't know.
Wow, probably.
Wow. You have any thoughts on this, Mathieu St. Germain?
I just want to say I'm so glad I can hear everybody. I've really been enjoying the conversation.
All right, fair enough.
I think growing weed in just taking over houses and growing weed is kind of like passe. It is dangerous for the neighborhood. And
you think it's dangerous for the neighborhood? Really?
I did it too, Bri. I blew up a 3-bedroom apartment at 52 Market in Venice back in the 90s before charcoal filters. So I'm not one to talk. We've all probably done it.
Yeah, we've all done it. The only thing that's dangerous, Jason, it becomes dangerous when you have people who are stealing power and like finagling things and upgrading their power box without that.
That's fair.
If you haven't blown a transformer, sorry, Pueblo, Colorado, then you don't understand how shitty it can be for the neighborhood. But yeah, the transformer box was in our front yard. It was not a hot spot to be in.
I'm totally heterosexual, but the only thing I have blown is a transformer.
Was his name Megatron?
Well, clip it. Clip that one.
Oh man, what was his name?
And the one thing I would say, there's two risks to indoor residential grows in homes in residential neighborhoods. The first is substandard electrical and the risk of fire that presents to neighborhoods. And the second is crime associated with a lack of security from an unregulated market. Aside from that, this idea of water damage and mold, you can have 3 teenage girls who don't know how to turn the fan on in a bathroom and get mold from the fact that you didn't have the window open venting moisture. So I think that those things are mostly overblown. And the idea that people sell homes for profit and that they felt the need to report that in this, guess what? It's real estate. People sell homes for profit. It's called appreciation. And in California, with a high cost of living and low inventory, the chances that a home is going to go up in value are pretty decent.
Fair enough. But it is an epidemic, and I didn't realize that there were so many Asian grows with such a small percentage of Asians in Antioch. But nonetheless, it sounds like 11% of the 15% are all illegally cultivating in Antioch. Yarrow.
They got the salt recipes and the Asian bubbas. Come on.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough. We're gonna keep this rolling. We're gonna roll right into a commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
The Network Show is coming back to LA September 18th and 19th. Make sure to get your tickets now for the only B2B licensed flower trade show in LA. With its previous shows selling out, you'll want to act fast so you don't miss out on over 150 of the best brands and distributors throughout California. The Network Show captures and ensures an intimate, focused environment for California's most influential brands and retailers to join forces in the true spirit of the legacy operator. So head over to www.networkshow.co/ticketing to reserve your spot and start cultivating connections at this year's Network Show.
Guys, man, oh man, I have some big news that happened over this weekend for you guys. That's right. The future president, the boss himself, because Trump signals support for Florida marijuana legalization. I told you guys he was going to do this. That's right. Donald Trump on Saturday expressed support for a ballot initiative in his home state of Florida. We need to hit play on the thing, Millie. There we go. So Donald Trump on Saturday expressed support for a ballot initiative in his home state of Florida that would legalize the use of marijuana for adults, staking out a moderate stance amid his otherwise ambiguous messaging on legalization. If approved by 60% of the general election voters in November, Florida's Amendment 3 would authorize 25 companies licensed by the state to sell marijuana to adults for adult use purposes and allow the possession of the substance for up to 3 ounces for adults 21 and over. In a lengthy post on the Trump-owned social network Truth Social Saturday morning, the former president stopped short of formally endorsing the measure, but asserted that, in quotes, whether people like it or not, marijuana legalization will happen. He also expressed support for the prohibition of marijuana use in public spaces and says someone should not be a criminal in Florida when this is legal in so many other states. We do not need to ruin lives and waste taxpayer dollars arresting adults with personal amounts of it on them. And no one should grieve a loved one because they died from fentanyl-laced marijuana, which doesn't exist. We need to have a conversation with Trump about that, but that is what he put in his truth. Trump's status as a Florida voter makes him eligible to vote for 2 of the state's high-profile state ballot initiatives in November, along with Amendment 3, which would legalize adult-use marijuana for people 21 and over. There's also Amendment 4, which seeks to loosen the state's ban on abortion from 6 weeks of pregnancy to around 24 weeks. And Amendment 3 is backed by Florida's medical marijuana industry, which is one of the largest in the country and brings in more than $2 billion with a B dollars in profits each year. Florida State Senator Joe Gruthers, a Trump ally and former state GOP chair, applauded the former president's position, writing on X in a quote, "I am incredibly proud to have President Trump stand alongside us in our effort to end needless arrests and incarcerations of adults for simple possession of marijuana and give Floridians the same individual freedom to choose safe, tested products that more than half the country already enjoys." Trump has historically waffled on his stance on marijuana legalization. During his presidency, Trump both voiced support for individual states' legalization laws and appointed Jeff Sessions, a notorious opponent of marijuana legalization, as Attorney General. I don't think that really matters. I don't know why they put that in the story, but whatever. The Republican nominee has also given conflicting statements about his stance on abortion rights, and he declined to endorse a national abortion ban. I don't know why we're covering that part really either. But in a TV interview on Thursday, Trump criticized Florida's 6-week. We're not worried about that either. And, yeah.
You're not.
Yeah, no, we're not. You know, my whole thing about it, I'll go into that separately, Yarrow. But DeSantis has come out with force against both ballot measures, launching a political committee called Florida Freedom Fund to attack the legalization push and efforts to enshrine the right to abortion to the state's constitution. And DeSantis also helped launch the No on 3 campaign in July, which released a statement saying that the initiative would lead to weed everywhere, every place, and in your face. That's pretty catchy.
Wait, are they using weed for abortions in Florida now?
Apparently, bro. Apparently so. That's what I mean. Maybe that's where the fentanyl-laced weed is. I'm not sure, but you know, it's possible. Anyways, I'm gonna just go into this. You know. I'm really excited that Trump came out in this, and I think probably the most important. Millie, can we put up the actual truth onto the video real quick? His actual truth. I think this is a big deal in regards with the statements that he made about this. It specifically when he says, at the same time, someone should not be a criminal in Florida when this is legal in so many other states. We do not need to ruin lives and waste taxpayer dollars arresting adults with personal amounts of it on them. No one should. To me, that's the biggest line that he said, in that the most important line in regards with the whole statement, and it just shows his commitment to criminal justice reform. And it looks like he's going to be voting yes on Amendment 3. And even Kim Rivers put out a tweet thanking the president for his endorsement of Amendment 3. And I really wonder how much this is going to push the poll numbers up for Amendment 3 now that President Trump has come out and backed this amendment. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
Well, the center right corporate media that folks call the left wing media has been characterizing this action by Trump as a flip flop, but I really hate that characterization. I think that people should be allowed to evolve their position. In this case, you know, hats off to Donald Trump for evolving his position. I think that just more reflects the electorate wants, because that's what politicians should actually be doing is kind of having their finger in the wind and feeling the zeitgeist and to enact policies that folks that are voting for them actually want, instead of just maintaining these hardline tribal positions. I like to see it.
Yeah, I'm
flip-flopping.
I'm with that. What do you have to say about this, Yarrow, Jenny?
I mean, I wonder how much it's going to change the opinion of the baby boomers that are in Florida that like to colonize from up north, because it's cold everywhere else. But I think, you know, by and large, the voting population in Florida have shown that they're vastly in favor of this. But I just think that Don probably shouldn't be looking out for that Christmas card from the DeSantis household this year.
You know, I think a couple things. First of all, I don't think he's flip-flop, because I think that Trump has previously indicated a willingness to accommodate state programs.
He has, and I'll go into that more too, Yarrow, after you finish.
And I think that the talking points that he used were welcome words to our ears. They are also about 4 or 5 years old, in the sense that he's catching up with some of these talking points. And the rest of his quote that you didn't include makes the other part of it offset a little bit, negated a little bit, minimized a little bit, because it's challenging the rest of the stuff that he put into his word salad around the misstatements.
What do you mean? Are you referring to the fact that he said he's going to be the most law and order president again?
No.
Okay.
The fentanyl and some of the other things.
Yeah,
and
but
the other thing.
When I read it, I said that's total fake news. Yeah, so go on.
But here's the part you didn't say was fake news, which is really, really important. And I don't want our viewers to miss this through the quote, which was people talk about people not getting in trouble for personal possession amounts. Mm-hmm. It fails to acknowledge that the supply chain never starts with personal possession amounts. It starts with production. And if we have low cost cannabis, that means production that's of a certain economy of scale. And so when they say, oh, nobody should get caught for a little production, well, where do you think the weed came from to begin with? How do people get those small personal amounts to begin with? It's not because everybody just has one plant on their back deck. And so those kinds of limiting ways of framing it are worrisome for me. The other thing also is, what he did is, I feel like he kind of bet on the horse that was already leading the racetrack. He didn't come out in favor of this early, and what was missing, the biggest gap in what was missing, is he didn't talk about doing anything on a federal level if elected. So I kind of feel like this was a very politician way of addressing the topic.
I think this was a fantastic way for him to start off addressing the topic, and just to get his feet wet, because this is his first endorsement of cannabis during this election campaign cycle. But I do want to note that while President Trump was president, he did call for the Senate and the House to put a bill for cannabis onto his desk, and that he would sign it. And that was in reference with safe banking. It passed the Senate. However, it was blocked by Paul Ryan and House leadership. And then
you mean the obstructionist Republicans?
Slow down. Let me finish. Let me finish, because that was during the first 2 years, and the second 2 years we had Nancy Pelosi as the Speaker of the House, and she obstructed the vote from coming to the floor as well in the House, and preventing Donald Trump from signing safe banking, and even when he called for it. So therefore, you have it from both sides of the fence, Yarrow, not just the R's, but the D's, and especially the D's that are in your neck of the woods.
Well, I already said I blew a transformer, so I guess I'd be putting some big D energy on top of that, which is to say that, I think Pelosi's facelift might have been so tight that it has interfered with some of the things that she could have otherwise accomplished. I also don't think it's a very leadership-like stance to say, give me something to sign, because I think there's a lot that can be done. I think there's a lot that can be done at the executive level.
Signal, bro. That's a big signal.
At the federal level of the executive branch without a legislative change. And so I think if we look back on Trump's 4 years in office, I would give him a C.
I don't know.
Maybe.
I'd give him an A+. He legalized the farm bill. That's legalized weed everywhere. What do you got to say about that?
It's a bill that's ripe for adjustment.
That bill is not going to get adjusted, and nor has President Trump called for any adjustments in regards on that bill either. I think it's important to note. But nonetheless, we're going to keep this train rolling, because we are going to come back and talk more about that flip-flopping that you mentioned, Mathieu St. Germain, in our final story of the day. So I'm sure you're going to have a few more words to say about that. Coming up next, that's right, we're going to roll right into the Count himself, the immortal one, Mr. Mathieu St. Germain, who is also a Sebastopol sage himself, who loves to do wizardry and transformery, and has been living and walking this earth for thousands upon thousands of centuries. That's right, it is none other than the Count himself, Mr. Mathieu St. Germain.
Thank you, Brother Jason.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. Happy Monday. I have a fun one about Mike Tyson, who, he's been
Yarrow's going to love
through
this.
a lot.
You're going to trade
Yarrow. I love him, and I love his journey. Mike Tyson sparks psychedelic buzz. Athletes embrace magic mushrooms, increase focus and recovery. Mike Tyson, the legendary heavyweight boxing champ, is once again in the spotlight. Not for his wild antics in the ring, but for his unconventional training regimen involving psychedelic mushrooms. In a recent appearance on Logan Paul's podcast, Tyson revealed that he consumes mushrooms while training for his upcoming fight against Jake Paul on November 15th. "Takes me to heaven, baby," Tyson exclaimed, adding yet another layer to his complex persona. Tyson isn't alone in his exploration of psychedelics. A growing number of athletes across various sports have begun incorporating psilocybin, the active compound in magic mushrooms, into their training routine. These athletes include professional hockey players, golfers, and MMA fighters, and are mostly reportedly microdosing, taking small amounts of the drug that do not produce a psychoactive effect but are believed to increase focus and aid recovery. Similarly, a retired NHL player, Riley Coate, who has advocated for psilocybin's benefits in managing the long-term effects of concussions, shared that at least a dozen active NHL players are microdosing. Coate, who played as an enforcer for the Philadelphia Flyers, said the benefits extend beyond sports. This is not even about just the hockey performance or sports performance. It's just life performance. Mushrooms have really gotten it big in the MMA world. The practice has gained traction with Rashad Evans, a former UFC light heavyweight champion. He disclosed that he knows at least 30 UFC fighters who regularly microdose. I'm having trouble talking today. Evans himself used mushrooms while training for his last fight in 2022, crediting them with reducing soreness and aiding recovery. Next day, I feel totally rebooted and ready to do it again, Evans said. Ian McCall, another retired MMA fighter who has worked with fighters using the substances for the past 5 years, he noted the practice only gained widespread attention in the last 2 years. One of his clients, Mark Irwin, a bare-knuckle brawler, has even competed while under the influence of a significant dose of mushrooms, like the ancient Viking berserkers. While the use of psychedelics in sports has been growing quietly, it was Tyson's openness about his usage that catapulted the topic into mainstream conversation. Tyson has credited psychedelics with helping him turn his life around, lose 100 pounds, and improve his relationship. He also attributes his return to boxing to the mental clarity and focus provided by mushrooms. While some athletes tout the benefits, the National Institute on Drug Abuse warns of potential health risks, including increased heart rate, nausea, and paranoia. Oh, that's the feds always adding their little scare tactics. I, for one, like to see this. I'm inspired by Mike Tyson's story arc of really having an incredibly tough life growing up, doing some fairly dastardly things, being accountable for that and going to prison, and then using psychedelics and reading and self-education really change his life and refocus his life and the purpose of it. I'm really interested in what you guys have to say, and I can pile on as we go. So this is Mathieu St. Germain. Little tongue-tied on a Monday for the High at Night.
Man, I find this very, very interesting that mushrooms have helped Mike Tyson evolve so much and develop his character more. I think that's overall is pretty good. I mean, and I've seen some videos of him just like eating like handfuls of mushrooms at a time and just like doing full-on interviews and stuff. So he can definitely function.
I don't know if you should be fighting on mushrooms. It can be dangerous for people.
I mean, wouldn't you just be punching more things?
It really depends on the dose. That was one of the first things that Terrence McKenna was talking about in his Food of the Gods. As recently, I shared a story a month ago or so that's recently been backed up by more archaeologists and folks studying, the origins of humanity. Mm-hmm. That really small doses of mushrooms really focus your mind and create greater visual acuity. You can see sharper, you can focus farther at a distance. So McKenna's thought was people were using smaller amounts of the mushrooms, able to hunt better and subside better on the savannas where they discovered them. And then some people were taking larger doses and they were finding like up-leveling to their audio component of their brain. Mm-hmm. That it may be what started symbolic thought and then language.
Interesting.
Yeah, so do drugs, you guys.
Interesting. Go ahead, Yarrow. I know you've been just biting your tongue right now.
I mean, I'm only biting my tongue because I have nothing bad to say. I have nothing bad to say.
You can't reach your ear?
Which is like, it's challenging for me because I like to remind people of, the totality of Mike Tyson's CV and the things outside the ring. I think Mathieu actually really framed this in a way that speaks to me, which is, first of all, Mike did pay his debt to society for the decisions he made. And that's a really, really important concept in this country, is that when you pay your debt to your society, you don't have to live under the stigma of those choices. The other thing also is Mike has been on a journey and he has shared that. And he shared it in a way that doesn't necessarily feel like it's just about self-promotion or about promoting a gummy the shape of an ear. He has shared his journey in a way that even on his show about him and the pigeons, and then after that, and his involvement in cannabis has been, I think, very authentic, really. And so I'm not in the Mike Tyson compliment business, but I think that this idea about
it's a holiday.
Well, I think this idea about sharing what people are doing to grow and level up is a form of leadership, because it is modeling, I think, what all of us want to do, which is to continue to evolve and to change. And so I'm not mad at this. I think that Mike has maybe not purposely or consciously, but positioned himself as one of the spokespeople around psychotropic substances and sports and athletes, and what works and what might be beneficial, and how mindset and then plant medicine can help athletes to evolve. And so I don't have anything bad to say today. I'd love to just disagree to keep it spicy. But I think this is all very positive, and I think that this article doesn't glamorize, but also didn't overhype risks. And so I think this was a great piece of writing for Mathieu to deliver today.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What are your thoughts on this, Jenny Beth?
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think, psilocybin is amazing for spiritual and physical and mental health. And so I think that I love that he's growing as a person. He's being open about that. He's not shied away from the things that he's done in his past that were not awesome. He's kind of attacked those, addressed those head on, and is just trying to be a more conscious, better person. So, I mean, I'm all for letting people evolve. I know that some people are not cool with that. I've definitely had to leave a couple women's chats lately as Mike Tyson's dropped more products, but, let people grow. Let people grow.
Interesting. I wonder, has he grown enough? Do you think he's taller than Yarrow now?
Oh boy.
All right. Fair enough.
I don't think so.
Oh, it's too cute. We're going to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
Whatever you're doing, make sure that you smash that like button. I know we'll appreciate it, you'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.highatnightnews.com. And happy Labor Day, everybody.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
Yes, and we are back. Rico hasn't made it here today. Jenny, do you want to go next, or do you want me to do Rico's story first? What do you want to do?
Go ahead and knock out Rico's story.
All right, I'm going to knock out Rico's story first, because since it is National Blueberry Popsicle Day, you guys, I think you guys will enjoy this going on, because Ohio regulators, that's right, marijuana sellers can't give out food from ice cream trucks, you guys. Handing out food and drinks from an ice cream truck is off limits for marijuana businesses in Ohio, according to state regulations. So is an online promotion saying, that's right, in quotes, "Can you take me higher?" ? That's right. It's a question. Ohio's Division of Cannabis Control has proposed fines totaling $212,000 against 5 businesses for violating the state's advertising rules for marijuana sellers, the Akron Beacon Journal reported on Thursday. Most of the fines involve promotions this summer ahead of the August 6th beginning of adult use marijuana sales in the state. And some of the violations involved using signs that were too large or not appropriate by the state. The largest proposed fine was $150,000, which was issued, you gotta rewind it, which was issued to Greenfield Apothecaries, which operates dispensaries in Akron, Canton, Cleveland, Columbus, and WikiLife. State regulators said the violations were related to giving out food and beverages from an ice cream truck advertising free ice cream on social media and using a sign that was not attached to the dispensary. Greenleaf Apothecary said in a statement that it takes the rules seriously and hopes to reach a resolution with the state. Oh man, you guys, all I can hear in my mind is the ice cream truck and just a little music, da 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 da, and can't wait to go and get like some little fizzes or something like that. But man, oh man, oh man, I can't believe that the state even has to tell you that you can't to get weed from a ice cream truck. But man, oh man, I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
So the Nice Dreams play is off the books now.
Oh man, what were you saying, Jenny?
No, I'm just sad that you can't get an 8th and a 2-ball screwball at the same time, or a 10th, excuse me.
Or a 10th, yes, that's right. It would be a 10th. And
we covered something about some pretty decent sized fines at an event. I think it was in like Michigan a week or two ago. And I just don't understand why people don't fully appreciate that 2 of the most boring but important members of their team are their compliance consultant and their attorney, and that ideas need to be filtered through the limitations of a regulated market. $150,000 fine is a pretty substantial fine. Like, that's not an oops. That's a pretty big wrist slap, because that's a kick in the wallet. And I just, like, I'm not a compliance person. I'd rather drink sand, but I recognize the value of that lens and the importance of it in a regulated market. And so no matter what your compliance person would have cost you, it would have been a lot less than $150,000 fine.
Oh, and the compliance specialist, I see her nodding her head.
You do. Do you see me updating my list of send an email over there?
Send them an email.
No, and I think these mistakes are really funny because you see them happening over and over again, state by state, and these guys are getting bigger and bigger fines, and they're still not saying, "Oh shit, maybe I should pay that $250 an hour to find out from someone who does know whether I can fucking do this or not."
Well, in all fairness, these people may have a compliance person, and maybe they just don't have a good one, and they just needed this to realize that.
Well, there's that. A lot of times you see, like, it's like, oh, my girlfriend needs a job, so I'm going to make her our metric and compliance person. No, don't do that. That is a very integral part of your job. Make her your secretary, make her your receptionist, put her in the bud tending floor. Do something cute with your cute girlfriend. Don't put her in a position that can put you out of business.
No, don't hire your girlfriend at all. Treat your business like a business.
They're gonna do it anyway. They're gonna do it anyway, Yarrow, because half of these nerds didn't get girlfriends until they had weed businesses. You know what I mean? So like, they're gonna hire their girls, which is fine. But like, well,
was that was your journey? You didn't get a boyfriend until you got into compliance?
Oh no. I'm good. But thank you. I'm reverse of this situation. You see these little basement dwelling nerds that have never talked to anybody but somebody on a comment board on the internet, and now all of a sudden they got a 10-pack and a girlfriend.
A 10-pack.
Especially the ones on Discord just broadcasting shows on YouTube.
6-pack for a girlfriend.
Oh man, we're gonna go to our last commercial, and we're gonna be right back. All right, you guys. Well, we have just crossed the 4,000 subscriber threshold, and we want to thank all of you that have subscribed, but we need to do more. We need to get to 10,000 subscribers. And as a thank you to all of our subscribers, I am going to hook up a half a pound of cannabis. That's right, you guys. We are going to hook up a half a pound of cannabis to our subscribers. That's right. 8 of you will have the opportunity to receive 1 ounce of true classic OG if you are chosen. And if you're wondering how you can get your hands on one of these 8 ounces, all you have to do is subscribe to my YouTube channel. That's right, High at 9 News on YouTube. Make sure you hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell when you do. And you could be enjoying an ounce of cannabis right here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or here, or maybe even right here in the studio with me. Make sure you hit that like button and share this post because it may increase or not increase your chances of winning. You must be 21 years old or over, or be a valid California patient, 18 years and over, with a valid recommendation to win. Winners must redeem their prize here in the state of California at any one of the 28 Catalyst retail locations throughout California. Cloud Media is not responsible for any consequences that may occur as a result of consuming cannabis. Please smoke and consume responsibly. And remember, I'm Jason Beck, and I only smoke the best weed in the world. And if you want to smoke as good as I smoke, then you need to make sure that you're a winner in this competition. All right, coming up next, it's that Southern belle who loves to tell you all about yourself and more. She's slick with it and whatnot. And she's also the founder of Kind Cannabis and of Justice Served, a 501c3. That's right, it is none other than Miss Jenny Beth Dills.
Slick with it, huh?
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. Well, hopefully some of these operators can make a slick exit in Connecticut because cannabis license sales is an exit strategy in Connecticut's expanding market. As Connecticut's adult use cannabis market approaches its 2nd anniversary, the industry is seeing a notable increase in merger and acquisition activity. Many companies, upon reaching the final licensure stage, are evaluating whether to launch their businesses or sell their licenses, a strategy permitted under regulations, albeit with certain restrictions. For instance, White Oak Bridge, a cannabis transport company, purchased its transport license from NMB BPT LLC. NMB initially acquired this license through a lottery, but chose to sell it instead of pursuing business operations. White Oak Bridge aims to vertically integrate its operations in Connecticut, a strategy increasingly adopted by other companies in the state. This trend is fueled by the numerous challenges cannabis startups face, such as stringent regulatory processes, limited capital, and tough economic conditions. Meanwhile, companies like Still River Wellness are considering various strategies regarding delivery service licenses. They're deliberating whether to start their own delivery operations or partner with an existing licensee or acquire licenses. Similarly, Nova Farms, a Massachusetts-based cannabis company, is actively acquiring licenses to expand its operations. Nova Farms recently secured a $20 million investment to enhance its presence in the Northeast and is exploring further acquisitions in Connecticut. However, not all licenses can easily be transferred. Social equity license holders must maintain at least 50% ownership for 7 years before selling their equity. Non-social equity owners can sell their licenses after receiving final licensure, but they cannot add new backers between the initial application and final approval stages. According to the state's Department of Consumer Protection, 63 adult use cannabis businesses have received full licensure, while 82 remain in the provisional stage. While the state does not track license transfer statistics, industry experts predict increased M&A activity as Connecticut's market matures. Several factors drive the sale of licenses, including the desire for quick financial returns and the high costs associated with operating a cannabis business. The cannabis industry is notably capital intensive, and recent trends indicate a decrease in investment from large corporations. As the industry matures, potential buyers and sellers often face challenges in agreeing on valuations, especially in Connecticut's nascent market. M&A deals in the cannabis sector witnessed a significant decline in 2023 compared to previous years. However, 2024 shows signs of recovery with approximately 40 transactions completed so far, valued at $113.44 million. Experts emphasize the importance of thorough due diligence in these transactions, which involves analyzing profit margins, financial records, competitive landscapes, and regulatory compliance. Overall, Connecticut's cannabis market is undergoing a period of consolidation, with licensed sales emerging as viable exit strategy for some businesses. As the market continues to evolve, companies are strategically navigating these complex dynamics to secure their positions and capitalize on emerging opportunities. So this is something that we see happening in all markets, especially as they mature. I don't buy that the capital requirement is why they're looking for an exit strategy. The people who are winning licenses in lotteries and then immediately flipping them is what they won them for. They were looking for this burn and turn opportunity, which I think is unfortunate for those that lost, that were really looking forward, especially on the social equity side of coming in and taking advantage of being able to operate in a licensed regulated market. I also think it's interesting that they're not allowed to take on new backers during the licensure process. That doesn't mean they don't. That means they don't report it to the state, which actually opens up the avenue for more people to come in who shouldn't be investing in cannabis companies and more kind of secretive shell game kind of structure. So I don't know. I think it's interesting. I don't know. We're going to see what happens. I'm sure this was a huge play and was a plan to begin with. But if you're just getting a license to flip it, just bow out and let someone else do it.
Yeah, I do agree with you, Jenny Beth, that them not allowing for these partners or these individuals to be able to sell or bring on other different partners just only creates a bigger problem, because they ultimately are going to need the capital one way or another, because just because it says something doesn't mean that they're not going to need the money to continue. So it's
a restriction on commerce in a way that's hard to justify. To say you can't bring on capital partners during that process doesn't support an industry that's so capital intensive, especially when people budget for what they think they need, and then something comes out of left field, and then they need more money. And so a lot of companies, as they scale, raising money is a full-time job as well. I mean, I know CEOs that are hired based on their track record of raising money. I love to disagree, and so where I will disagree with Jenny is the idea that creating the value of the license, the entitlements, and then flipping it is unfair. I think it's very fair. I think there's a lot of value that's created by taking something that's uncertain opportunity and creating a measure of certainty. And I'm not mad at anybody for exiting at any time, because if they're making money or they've done their primary purpose and never wanted to be in ops and was only in standing up the initial portions of a business, I don't have any heartburn about people selling whenever they want.
I'm going to fight with you, Yarrow, because the people that do that by and large are not social equity operators that actually want to operate or even knew they had social equity status. They're probably someone that got a phone call from some douchebag who puts these collectives together, and he's like, did you know that you can get a social equity license? They use these people as a figurehead, put them into the lottery, win these places, and other people who actually deserve restorative justice opportunities through these programs don't get them, because Chad, Brad, and Thad got Tyrone to get a license so they could sell it immediately.
Right there is the joy of capitalism. How those with capital exploit the rules.
I think it's more just bad policy and bad regulations.
It's basically, if you're going to allow people with capital to make the rules, that's what they'll do. They'll find the loopholes.
I mean, there's no perfect program. There's not going to be a perfect program. We don't see any social equity programs that truly work. We don't see any cannabis regulations that are truly long-term working in all aspects of the bills, right? So, I mean,
social equity programs don't work, Jenny, because they included people who are not historically disadvantaged and got in trouble because of their avarice. And I know several of them. They're my friends, and it's all good, right. But it's like, just went huge until you got busted. You shouldn't get a social equity program. There was a point at a Hall of Flowers, I was joking with three different founders of three of the largest companies in California about we should have like a Tony Robbins style conference of like how to get big in the weed game. It's like, okay, so first, 1,000 pounds of Texas. Second, like 3 to 5 federal. And then third, like get your funding and get a huge weed company. And that shouldn't be the purpose of the social equity purpose. But I think even farther beyond that, cannabis shouldn't really be the nexus or the locus for re-engineering society. It provide an inspiration. But regular government should be providing these social equity programs The issue, from the Republican side is the Republicans call those entitlements. All social equity programs are considered entitlements and are cut off because they want to live in this corporate fascist kind of like libertarian nightmare wherein we really actually need social programs. And I challenge anybody who says they're a libertarian, like, do you use roads? Well, you're partaking in a socialist program. Flush your toilet into the sewer, you're a socialist. And so I think we need to address society and create equity through creating educational and other opportunities for people who have been denied them. And the sooner we can just get real with history of like, some people kind of like stole everything and still have it. Like, we don't want to cut their heads off. We just want to talk to them about sharing enough of it that we can all live inside and eat food.
Right.
Again, I do a lot of drugs, you guys, so I'm probably off base.
No, listen, some of that I was like, hold on, carry the two. Let me stay on track of what St. Germain's saying. But I actually, intrinsically, at the end of everything, except for the little socialist pieces, I do agree with you. And I think that it's unfortunate that I agree with a lot of things that he said. Not all of them. We won't dissect them because we're not here to fight. It's 10:02, so I might as well keep it rolling. But, I think that a lot of good points were made there. And it's really unfortunate. I think that these social equity licenses should not be able to be bought and traded like that. I think we need to change the qualifications on which we determine social equity. I don't think it should be race-based, which it's not, but that just opens up immediate litigation. So let's just see what happens. But Connecticut, let's be real, how much true equity is really happening in Connecticut? And I'd love to see how many hedge funds have bought and flipped these licenses, won a lottery.
I personally, just before we move on, have been very involved in some little local controversy around what are qualifications and who is most deserving. And what I have found in the social equity communities, at least local, is it's very much a crabs in the barrel. Instead of people trying to grow these programs and get more funding, there's a lot of stick poking into other people's eyes around, well, who's more deserving, who's less deserving. And I want to disagree with Mathieu St. Germain on something around the idea that those who took oversized risks maybe shouldn't qualify for. What we forget is that Brownie Mary needed to get her biomass from someplace. The people in the medical perspective, if there weren't people who had a malformed risk to reward ratio and weren't taking those big risks, that medical program in California over 30 years wouldn't have became the beginnings of what now adult use is. And so I think that we don't need to make heroes out of those who took risks. But I also think that I've seen in some of these forums and, this idea that, some people who shouldn't deserve social equity are benefiting from the social equity programs merely because they decided to take oversized risks. Those oversized risks, in my mind, built the medical programs, at least in this state. The other thing that I think is really interesting is people need to understand social equity is not reparations. And if we're going to talk about communities most impacted by prohibition, it is not enough to just talk about race, because there would be no medical cannabis in California if there weren't gay men dying from AIDS. And a lot of those gay men were not black or brown or indigenous. And so we have to understand that some of these communities were marginalized communities, but also because of who they chose to love, not because of the color of their skin and that immutable characteristic.
All right. Well, we're going to roll into this final story for you guys on this Labor Day. Happy Labor Day, everybody. And Mathieu St. Germain, this is the other version of the side that you were referencing in the beginning of my story, because that's right, you guys. Vice President Kamala Harris's campaign criticizes Trump for blazing flip-flops on marijuana, you guys. That's right. Days after Vice President Kamala Harris took questions on her changing views on policy, her campaign sent out a memo criticizing Donald Trump and his brazen flip-flops, including a marijuana reform, accusing the former president of, in quotes, just making things up ahead of the election. I'll say the only thing he made up is the fentanyl-laced weed, but nonetheless. Saturday morning, Trump signaled in a social media post that he supports a ballot measure in Florida, where he lives, that would legalize marijuana for adult use purposes, while calling for the state legislature to, in quotes, prohibit the use of it in public spaces so we do not smell marijuana everywhere we go, Trump said. And another quote, someone should not be a criminal in Florida when this is legal in so many other states. In an additional quote, "We do not need to ruin lives and waste taxpayer dollars arresting adults with personal amounts of it on them, and no one should grieve a loved one because they died from fentanyl-laced marijuana." Yeah, I'm not buying that part, but nonetheless. Trump added, the Harris campaign is framing Trump's support for the measure as another change in policy in a long line of brazen flip-flops, according to a memo on Saturday, first obtained by ABC News. In a quote, "As of this morning, Trump now suggests he is for legalizing marijuana. But as president, his own Justice Department cracked down on marijuana offenses." Ian Sams, a longtime Harris communications aide, wrote, who joined the campaign earlier this month after a stint at the White House counsel's office, said in the memo. I'd like to know what they're referencing because there was no enforcement when he was there. So I am really confused as to what they're talking about, but I'd love to know. And counsel's office said in the memo that Trump's record on marijuana has varied. While in office, his Justice Department announced it would remove an Obama-era policy that limited federal prosecutors from some marijuana sales in states where it's legal. That's actually the Cole memo, and that's not what it did, but only for Trump to walk that back months later. And he also expressed support for a bipartisan bill in 2018 to protect states' pro-marijuana laws. And but in 2019, he used part of his salary to pay for a promotional campaign highlighting the negative effects of marijuana use. In a statement to ABC News, a Trump campaign official maintained that President Trump has been consistent in his support for leaving this issue to the states for years. Yeah, that part is true. And the memo comes just 2 days after Harris sat for her first wide-ranging interview, I wouldn't call it an interview, I call it a video, with CNN, more than a month after launching her campaign for president after President Joe Biden announced he was abandoning his re-election bid. Harris's role as vice president naturally required her to adapt to Biden's agenda and platform, but since her ascension to the top of the ticket, how her policy views may differ from Biden's, and that of her 2019 campaign have yet to be clearly defined. That's right. She hasn't put out any policies. She hasn't done anything. She says, "My values have not changed," Harris said, repeated in a CNN interview Thursday when pressed about her about face on certain policy positions, particularly compared to what she ran on in the 2020 primary. The Harris's team argument is that her record in office reflects her evolution on certain issues, but that Trump's does not. In a quote, "As soon as Trump starts catching heat for his unpopular agenda on record," Sam said, referenced Project 2025. That was never his. That was the whole foundation's thing. He rushes out to claim he would actually do the opposite. It's a desperate play from a candidate whose back is up against the wall running against Vice President Harris, he says. But he also says, but it demands scrutiny, Sams argued. He was president for 4 years, and how he exercised his power on these issues is the best metric for how he will do so again if he gets the chance. What he says now is just a desperate pandering from a scared man who is worried he will lose, he says. Well, I'm not buying any of that. This is a whole bunch of gaslighting in this article for you guys, but we want to make sure that we're covering it from all angles. And this is just hysterical for me, because there was this is probably the one poll that I do probably think is probably the most realistic I saw, that Elon Musk put out a poll. I'm going to email this over to you, Millie, so you can throw this up. You guys will find this very, very interesting. You guys.
I'm glad you planned ahead for that one, Jason.
I did. You know what? Sometimes it just works like that.
Oh boy. I mean, this is interesting, but not really. I mean, two politicians are fighting during a presidential election year.
Well, I mean, I don't.
Da, da, da.
I'm not buying all of this. That what the Democrats are saying about Trump is so bad. I mean, like I said, he legalized the farm bill. He included cannabis in USMCA. I mean, he signaled for a bill to get to his desk, and he would sign it. So I don't see this as that big of a flip-flop, this position.
It's not a flip-flop, but even if it were, I don't understand why it's people to evolve in their thinking. I don't know why we like this. This is what we want. So I don't know why anyone would have a problem with his position evolving to align with our own values a little more. So I think that this is, something that it's just more mudslinging, and it's fine. I don't know why it matters if he's wearing flip-flops or not.
I think if we look a little deeper into like actual rhetoric of what's going on, and we look at the history of this term, we see is it's emotionally charged rhetoric. It's basically a form of a logical fallacy. It's an illogical statement. It's meant to pigeonhole somebody and demonize them. Like Muhammad Ali said, and who feels the same way he did in his 50s as he did when he was 20, wasted 30 years of his life. We all should be able to learn, grow, and evolve throughout our lives.
Yes,
I think
I'm with
people making intelligent changes to their policies throughout time because of new information and cultural political changes signals intelligence. I think this is why we all should Google the trivium, grammar, logic, and rhetoric, begin to train ourselves and learn with each other how to understand appeals to emotion and other fallacies like the word flip-flop that are made, manufactured in order to appeal to our emotions, off our brain, so that we follow other people's thinking.
I'm going to hop in here for a quick
Go
second.
for it. There we go.
Oh boy.
So, of all the topics to accuse the opponent of flip-flopping on, Kamala Harris does not have the high ground on this topic and was criticized roundly when she ran for president the first time about talking about smoking cannabis and listening to songs that came out during a period of time when she was a prosecutor prosecuting people for cannabis. So to Matthew's point,
she lied about the time. She said that she listened to that music when she was in college, in her dorm, getting high.
So to Matthew's point, the sign of a functional, intelligent, sentient being is the ability to evolve your perspective on things. My challenge is I don't know what Trump actually thinks and feels, and I don't know that he actually knows what he thinks and feels. I don't think Trump has a North Star on this issue. But what troubles me just as much is that if Harris wants to win this election, she needs to boil it down to the single issue where the differences between them are night and day. She needs to talk about personal liberties for women and not talk about cannabis, where her track record as district attorney of San Francisco was that she locked up more black men for cannabis than the 3 previous district attorneys before her. So this isn't the place that she should be opening her mouth and trying to point out those differences. She needs to talk about women's rights, women's personal freedoms and liberties, and keep this a simple, singular topic election, because this doesn't help her in the polls, and it doesn't differentiate her substantially from Trump.
I mean, I just hear just more hypocrisy, just coming out from their side. But, nonetheless,
It's got to be about womb, not weed, if she wants to win.
Yeah, and Trump hasn't changed from his positions. He's always been in favor of medical cannabis, and has said, as far as it goes to adult use cannabis, to leave it up to the states. And so he hasn't changed on his position. And I'm glad to see that he is voiced support for Amendment 3, even though I'm not sure I necessarily support it personally. But I'm not a Florida voter. But I am glad that he has come out and through his drawing a line in the sand on where he stands on this, and I think that's very telling for the American people.
Except if he cared, he would talk about the fact that home grows are not allowed under Amendment 3. So if you're in favor of decriminalizing small amount of personal possession, then you got to let people put a plant in their backyard.
Yeah, and then
Florida's bill is all about corporate control and control of the individual as well. It's about the corporations capturing the entire process.
I agree, and in all fairness, Trump didn't make any comments in regards to the individual bill. He just said he's saying that the overall that it should be legal for adults, and so I think that's kind of the bigger
Jason,
takeaway.
from a capitalist point of view, creating a monopoly through government collusion is the supreme form of capitalism, and so that should be something that you support if you are indeed a Trump-loving Republican and capitalist.
Easy there, Turbo. Easy there, Turbo. I just told you where I was standing on that one. I'm not necessarily for that, because I think there is a lot of regulatory capture in regards with that whole Florida bill. But you know what I mean. I'm not a Florida citizen, at least, you know what I mean. Not yet. I'm still a Californian.
This is something that confuses me when I talk to most people about politics. Is have a firm set of political principles, the exceptions carved out for for their pet projects or what they like or people they're aligned with. And to me, that just creates a world that's subject to corruption and being blown. Anyway, the wind blows and demagoguery.
It's called evolving.
What I'd like to really see from people is discussions about first principles. People actually believe in why, not like how are these principles good, except when it comes to the one thing.
That's
probably over time for this, though.
That's a fair criticism, because it is all about your principles, and you do need to have solid principles to guide you to make a lot of these decisions. So, I mean, that is fair. I do understand what you're saying to some degree on there, Matthew. But nonetheless, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Big thank yous to our audience and supporters for tuning in daily and listening to the insanity that is the developing cannabis industry. Huge thank you to Catalyst for helping us keep the lights on over here, and thank you to our correspondents for being absolutely amazing today. Happy Labor Day, guys. Thank you all to Cloud Media Partners. Millie in the building today, and thank you all for tuning in and getting high at 9 with us. We are America's #1 daily cannabis news show. Happy Labor Day, everybody.